There is a $2 liquid sitting in your bathroom cabinet right now that can bring foggy headlights back to factory fresh clarity. Not reduce the haze slightly. Restore them completely. The American Automobile Association ran this through an accredited laboratory and confirmed it delivers real results. Dealerships are quoting $300 to $800 per headlight assembly to replace what this liquid fixes in under 15 minutes. The automotive aftermarket industry pulls in over $400 billion every single year in the United States alone. A $2 solution that kills a $400 repair bill cannot be allowed to go mainstream. So they buried it behind upsells, fear tactics, and parts catalogs nobody asked for. They didn't hide it because it fails. They hid it because it works too well. This is the story of the chemical reaction that brings dead headlights back to life, and the industry that is praying you never discover it. Welcome to True Wild Camping. If this kind of knowledge matters to you, hit subscribe and ring that bell. This is where we blow open the vaults that billion-dollar industries have spent decades sealing shut. Now let me take you back to where this problem was deliberately engineered. In 1981, Ford Motor Company filed a petition with the United States federal government to overturn a law that had protected drivers for decades. They wanted permission to stop using glass headlights. For over 40 years, every car sold in America ran on sealed beam glass lamps. They were round or square, completely standardized, and you could replace them for about $5 at any hardware store. Glass didn't fog. Glass didn't yellow. Glass didn't oxidize. A headlight from 1965 looked exactly the same in 1985. But glass had one problem the automakers couldn't live with. It was too simple. You couldn't patent a new shape every model year. You couldn't charge $200 for a proprietary assembly. You couldn't drag a customer back to the dealership for a replacement part that only fit one specific vehicle. In 1983, Federal Motor Vehicle Safety Standard 108 was amended. Automakers were now free to swap glass for polycarbonate plastic. Polycarbonate is 250 times more impact resistant than glass. It weighs half as much and can be sculpted into any aerodynamic shape an engineer imagines. The industry threw a party. But polycarbonate carries a fatal weakness they never once mentioned on the showroom floor. It is chemically vulnerable to ultraviolet radiation from the sun. UV photons hammer the plastic surface and trigger a process called photooxidation. On a molecular level, those ultraviolet rays tear apart the polymer chains holding the plastic together. Micro cracks spread across the surface like invisible fractures in a windshield. Moisture seeps into those cracks and gets trapped. Road salt, chemical residue, and airborne debris embed themselves into the damaged surface. The result is that yellow, cloudy, foggy lens staring back at you on every car older than 5 years. The factory applies a thin UV protective coating to buy some time, a sacrificial layer designed to absorb punishment so the plastic underneath survives. That coating lasts 3 to 5 years before the sun destroys it completely. After that, the polycarbonate is naked and completely exposed. Your headlight is literally decaying in your driveway while you sleep. And here is the data that should make every driver's blood run cold. The American Automobile Association published a landmark study in 2018. They tested headlights from 2 popular sedans, both approximately 11 years old. Those deteriorated headlights produced only 22% of their original light output. That is not a minor reduction. That is a 78% collapse in the light that is supposed to be keeping you alive on dark roads. 50% of all traffic fatalities in the United States happen at night. And you are out there driving with headlights firing at barely a quarter of their designed output. A child on a bicycle at the edge of the road at dusk becomes completely invisible to a driver with degraded headlights. A deer frozen in the center of your lane becomes a shadow you register exactly 1 second too late. The AAA study confirmed that a $20 restoration kit brings light output back to roughly 70% of original performance. Not perfect, but nearly 4 times brighter than the degraded state. Meanwhile, replacing the headlight assembly costs $300 to $800 per unit. On luxury vehicles like BMW or Audi, a pair of replacements can blow past $2,000. Now here is the math the industry does not want you running. There are 556 million polycarbonate headlights currently in service across American roads. The average vehicle age in the United States just hit a record 12.6 years. Every single one of those aging headlights is a potential $400 repair ticket sitting in a driveway somewhere. Multiply that across 100 million vehicles with deteriorated lenses, and you start to understand the scale of what is happening. This is not a headlight problem. This is a revenue model built on your ignorance. Now, before we go deeper, I need to tell you something important about what I have put together. This video is just the first vault. I have compiled everything the automotive and outdoor industries have buried, all of it, into one single place. Inside the complete true wild camping vault, you will find a step-by-step headlight restoration guide that dealerships do not want anywhere near your hands. Fire building techniques used by military special forces, now labeled too dangerous for the general public. Emergency shelter blueprints that cost nothing and outperformed $300 tents in field tests. DIY water purification systems that left engineers genuinely speechless. Natural rust elimination methods using a single acid the chemical industry has been trying to make you forget. Off-grid power generation using components you can grab at any hardware store for under $20. And much more. Over 10 survival guides in a single vault. No padding. No filler. Straight to the point. The link is in the description. But stay right here, because the real story behind your foggy headlights runs much deeper than UV damage. The automotive aftermarket industry in the United States hit $414 billion in 2024. That number is projected to blow past $664 billion by 2028. This is not a niche side business. This is one of the largest commercial ecosystems ever built. And every single dollar of that empire rests on one core principle. The customer must never believe they can fix it themselves. When your headlights cloud over, the system is engineered to run you through a very specific pipeline. First, the dealership tells you the entire assembly needs replacement. They quote you $400, maybe $600 installed. If you push back, they offer a professional restoration at $75 to $150 per pair. Even the budget option costs 40 times more than handling it yourself with products already sitting in your home. The auto parts stores sell restoration kits for $20 to $30. They work, but they still cost 10 times what the actual active ingredients are worth. Nobody in the entire automotive supply chain wants you discovering that the chemistry behind every single one of those products is available in your bathroom cabinet for approximately $2. If you have made it this far, you already know more about headlight chemistry than 99% of drivers on the road today. Subscribe and share this with anyone still handing $400 to a dealership for a problem that costs $2 to solve. And remember, everything the industry buried is waiting inside the complete true wild camping vault. Link in the description. Now stay with me, because what comes next is the part they are most desperate to keep off your screen. Here is the conspiracy sitting behind every foggy headlight in America. The 5 largest auto parts retailers in the United States collectively pull in over $60 billion every year. Companies like AutoZone, O'Reilly, and Napa have constructed empires on the belief that vehicle maintenance demands specialized products. You cannot patent baking soda. You cannot patent toothpaste. You cannot patent a polishing compound that has existed since the 1950s. And you absolutely cannot build a recurring revenue machine around something the customer already owns. The entire $400 billion aftermarket engine runs on one psychological lever. The customer must believe that car maintenance is too complex to handle alone. That specialized tools, proprietary chemicals, and certified technicians are the only road to a functioning vehicle. The moment a grandmother restores her headlights with a tube of toothpaste and a microfiber cloth in her own driveway, the entire illusion shatters. So the industry reached for the oldest weapon in the book. They made simple knowledge disappear. Dealerships trained their service advisors to recommend full headlight assembly replacement as the default, not restoration. Replacement runs $300 minimum, often hitting $600 with labor on a luxury sedan. Independent shops offer restoration, but charge $75 to $150 for a process that takes 30 minutes of actual labor. Auto parts retailers sell kits at $20 to $30, each one containing roughly $2 worth of sandpaper and polishing compound dressed up in premium branded packaging. Every layer of this pipeline is designed to squeeze maximum revenue from a problem that chemistry solved decades ago. Here is what the science actually tells us. The yellowing coating your headlights is not permanent damage to the plastic itself. It is a thin layer of oxidized material sitting on the surface, typically less than 1/32 of an inch deep. Beneath that degraded layer, the polycarbonate is still perfectly clear and completely sound. All you have to do is remove that oxidized skin and protect the fresh surface underneath from further UV exposure. That is the entire science of headlight restoration in 2 sentences. Everything else being sold to you is marketing. Here is exactly how to do it, step by step, for under $5 total. Go to your bathroom cabinet and grab a tube of white toothpaste. Not gel, the basic white paste with mild abrasives. If you have baking soda, bring that along too. Mix a small amount of toothpaste with a teaspoon of baking soda to create a slightly gritty paste. This compound works because toothpaste carries microabrasives and trace amounts of hydrogen peroxide, the same active agents found in commercial restoration kits sold for $30. Baking soda adds gentle scouring power that lifts the oxidized layer without scratching the polycarbonate underneath. Tape off the area surrounding your headlight with painter's tape to protect your paint. Apply the paste directly to the foggy lens and scrub in firm circular motions using a clean cloth or an old toothbrush. Work for about 3 to 5 minutes per headlight, applying moderate pressure and keeping the surface slightly damp throughout. You will watch the cloth turn yellow as the oxidized layer peels off the plastic. Rinse with clean water and assess the result. For mild to moderate fogging, a single application delivers a change so dramatic you can see it from across the parking lot. For severely yellowed headlights neglected for years, repeat the process 2 or 3 times. Now here is the critical step that separates a weekend patch job from a permanent restoration. The toothpaste strips away the oxidized layer, but it also removes whatever UV protection was still clinging to the surface. You have just exposed raw, naked polycarbonate to direct sunlight. Without protection, oxidation returns within a few months. You need to apply a UV protective sealant or a spray clear coat built for automotive plastic. A can of UV-resistant clear coat runs $4 to $6 at any hardware store and will cover multiple headlights for years. Apply 2 to 3 thin, even coats, giving each coat about 10 minutes to dry before laying down the next one. This sealing step is the difference between a fix that holds 3 months and one that holds 3 years. For the most thorough permanent restoration, step up to wet sanding. Pick up a pack of automotive sandpaper in 400, 800, and 2000 grit for around $3. Wet sand the headlight starting with the 400 grit and working up progressively to the 2000 grit, keeping the surface completely wet the entire time with a spray bottle. Each grit level should take about 2 minutes of smooth, even strokes across the full lens. The lens will look milky and frosted after sanding. That is completely normal. Then polish with your toothpaste and baking soda compound or a cheap automotive polishing compound until the lens goes crystal clear. Finish with 3 coats of UV clear coat sealant. Total cost for both headlights using this professional grade method sits under $10. Total time invested is roughly 45 minutes. The result is headlights that look factory new and stay clear for 2 to 3 years. I want to be straight with you about the limits of this method. If your headlights have deep physical cracks, internal moisture damage, or structurally compromised polycarbonate, no surface treatment is going to rescue that. Those cases genuinely need professional assessment or outright replacement. But for the 90% of cars on the road dealing with standard UV oxidation fogging, the $2 bathroom method works. The AAA confirmed it. The chemistry backs it up. And every detailer charging $75 for that same 15-minute process knows it. Now step back and think about what you just absorbed in the last 15 minutes. A government regulation change in 1983 handed the auto industry permission to swap indestructible glass headlights for plastic ones that decay in 3 to 5 years under ordinary sunlight. That single regulatory decision created a perpetual revenue stream worth billions of dollars annually. 556 million of those decaying headlights sit on American roads right now, each one a potential extraction point. And the solution that has existed since before most of us were born costs less than a gas station coffee. This knowledge was never lost. It was just locked in a vault nobody told you existed. If this video cracks something open for you, subscribe and pass it on to everyone you know who is still driving behind foggy headlights. Every like and every share keeps alive what the automotive aftermarket worked hard to erase. The next vault opens soon, and what is inside hits even harder than what you just heard. Welcome to True Wild Camping. We keep nothing buried.